Hi, my name is Blair. I'm originally from Alexandria, Louisiana, big up the boot. I presently live in Brooklyn. I work in Manhattan and the surrounding areas. I'm a Southern girl first, I'm an entrepreneur next, and I'm known for being an on-air personality.
What was your last clock in, clock out, 9 to 5 job?
My last clock in, clock out, 9 to 5 job was in November of 2012. Yeah, 2012. I was working at, I'll call it, just so I'm not naming names here, a publisher, several media sites, all digital media centric, and I was head of their marketing department. And a very good friend of mine, she and I, we were starting our own business, importing Brazilian women's apparel and swimwear, brands that only exclusive to Brazil. We were becoming global distributors like B2B and B2C. And I decided, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I could not continue to be a part of someone else's dream so consistently. So I quit my job and became a freelancer for the first time ever.
How has that helped you, that job help you or push you to be a freelancer entrepreneur? How did that happen?
Aside from wanting to make my own dreams happen, that job and a series of other jobs prior to, you know what, let me not even say a series of other jobs, because I've had some really good jobs and I've had some really dope people. That job made me realize I'm not about that cubicle life, and that if I'm gonna work that hard for something, it's gonna be for my dreams and not anybody else's.
Amen to that. You wear a lot of hats as far as your career goes.
Mm-hmm.
You are an on-air personality, producer. You have your own website. You freelance. Which one do you like the most? Which job or title do you like the most or get the most joy out of doing?
I get the most joy out of telling stories for I've Never Been That Girl, because I'm a hopeless romantic, and I just love a good story arc. I just love seeing people win and seeing the good-ish that's on the other side of the valley. I just love seeing that and telling that and showing that we're a lot more alike than we are different. So I love fashion and pop culture and news and entertainment, and I love those moments. But I find that what makes Dana happiest are the moments after the camera stops rolling, if I get a chance to ask someone I'm interviewing a question about their life, or being able to tell the stories of other women in their lives.
How do you even juggle it all? How do you find time to do it all and juggle it all?
I find time through coffee. Coffee is my friend. Wine is my friend. I don't know, it just happens. It just happens. I work hard. I don't sleep that much.
No.
Or I sleep with my laptop. My laptop's my babe. It's pink. I don't know, it just gets done. I can't explain it. When you're an entrepreneur, you learn how to be the most efficient person on every single level, time-wise as well as money-wise. When you're at a company in a major corporation, money is the amount of money that you have access to in your budget and your P&L and that whole shebang is a lot different than when the money's coming out of your own pocket. And so you learn how to be efficient and do what makes sense financially. And then also time-wise, you're tired, you may not be able to hire a staff, you may just have interns and therefore you're only able to give them certain level things to do. You have to become efficient. And I don't believe in just working hard, I believe in working smart. So I think freelancing and being an entrepreneur or being a contract employee, however you want to classify it, makes you streamline and become more efficient. And if you're not one who's willing to do that or be creative or think outside the box or step outside that comfort zone or that convention of everything that you thought you knew, then you're not going to make it as an entrepreneur.
Once you're fully engulfed in entrepreneurship, a lot of people, after you live through it, a lot of people feel like, certain things they weren't prepared for as far as, taking the lead, being an entrepreneur and actually living that day to day. What do you think or feel like you were not prepared for in this lifestyle that you live, being an entrepreneur?
So I learned a lot from my mom about running a business. I don't think there's anything I wasn't prepared for, to be quite honest with you. It's when you're a freelancer, especially in New York, if you have a hustler spirit, you can make it happen. Like if you're not hustling, I don't know what to say about that. I think the hardest thing, not the biggest surprise, but the hardest thing is waiting on people to pay you. Because you invoice them and then you have whatever your invoice terms are and that sort of thing. So I think that's probably the hardest thing. Or once you've been working on one particular project for a long period of time and you kind of fall into that little comfort rhythm of that check and then you realize, oh shit, this project's about to be over, what's my next thing? I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. Now, I will say I was very surprised by other people trying to put their negative energy and feelings and their fears onto me. You know, like, oh, you're gonna quit your job. Because I have a really good job. I have 3 degrees. I have an MBA in marketing. A lot of people don't know that about me. I've had a chance to work with some really dope projects and do some really big things outside of my present platform and the brand that I'm known for. So I ain't no dummy, you know, but when you try to do something different, whether that's in your personal life, whether it's in your professional life, a lot of times people put their fears on you, like, girl, you sure you want to do that? Girl, you better not let go of that man. Or, girl, you better hurry up and have you a baby. You're a certain age. Girl, you was making a good job. You had a 6-figure salary and a 5-figure bonus. You're doing this. You know, you can't, I think that surprised me the most. Everyone who was fearful and trying to project those fears onto me.
You mentioned that, you know, you have your degrees, you have an MBA in marketing. How did you transition from dance, marketing, to now, you know, being the host of Essence Live, interviewing all these celebrities? How did that transition happen?
My transition, I've apparently lived many lives, and I get asked that question a lot, actually. So I started dancing when I was 3 years old because I'm hyperactive, and my mom said I have to get out of her house. She's not going to deal with me at all. So my god sister, shout out to Leah, her mom called my mom and was like, I want to put her in dance class and I think she'll stick with it if there's somebody in that class. So boom, KJ, that's what I told my mom when she's acting up, she's like signing up. So I go to dance class, but when I was 10 years old, I was still dancing, so when I'm 10 years old, my mom took me to see Maureen Anderson, who's a brilliant principal African-American ballerina with Houston Ballet. She has retired since, still teaches. And Carlos Acosta, who's a Cuban dancer, brilliant, does amazing things that no human should have ever been able to do. And they were dancing the pas de deux from Nutcracker, Sugar Plum, and Cavalier, which is also one of my favorite, most romantic pieces of music in Tchaikovsky, which I love. At the Brown Wortham Center in Houston, and I said, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. And I increased the number of dance classes I was taking, as many as Donald and Kathy would let me take, that's my parents. So I was dancing like 5-6 days a week after school. I had to maintain my grades. You know, there were stipulations that came with that. Summers, I started going away to summer camps. All of the big national ballet and modern companies audition nationally. So, you know, bun-heading it, packing a PB&J. My mom's driving me different places. And I was really blessed to get into some of the top schools, and that's where I spent my summers. So high school, like I wasn't really into thotting and bopping, like I wasn't at the games, I wasn't really doing all those things. I was dancing. And I came to New York on a dance scholarship. And I danced and I graduated and blah, blah, blah. But fast forward to having an injury and really, really bad joints. And I was like, I was literally on an MRI table in Ohio, and I was like, okay, Trick, what you gonna do? And then after a while, I went to the studio one day and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Like other things that I wanted to do, other hopes and dreams for Dana started to speak to me. And then I was also panicked a little bit because, you know, when you're young, you think you have all the time in the world. And a friend of mine had been killed that year. She was stabbed to death in New Orleans. And it was about 8 months before Katrina. And that whole process, that and then my body betraying me, how far I felt like my body betraying me, just like all these things, and you're growing up and, you know, still living far from home, my whole family's still in Louisiana, just all of these different things made me say, okay, you have to do something else. So I gave myself options. I've always been smart, always been good at school, so I decided to go get my MBA. Didn't know what I was gonna major in, I didn't know what I was gonna use it for. Fast forward, I put my resume on monster.com, and I didn't even know people looked at that, to be quite honest with you. And I got a call from A&E to be a sales assistant. Didn't know what that meant. I just knew I watched Breakfast with the Arts on the weekends. So I went to A&E, long story short, became a sales assistant in ad sales, and had the most amazing account executive ever, Larry Walsh, who taught me so much, not just about business and media, but the art of negotiation and how to get what I need and want and what I deserve financially, and how a deal works, and how this whole thing we call entertainment really moves on the back end. And I worked my way up into integrated marketing, and finished my master's, and I was doing some dope stuff. Like I got to do a private concert for MasterCard and Bon Jovi, like I'm doing product placements and shows, and I felt really great, but I also felt behind the curve because now here I am in my late 20s, and everyone else who graduated and went straight into their careers I felt was so much further than me. So I was like, I need to learn a different platform. And then the job at Essence opened up, and I became a marketing manager there, and I learned digital and print and social, and got to do events and red carpets and bring crane cars in over walls and all kinds of fun stuff. And over the years, I went on to work on digital media for Vogue and at Complex and things like that. And I learned a lot, met some really dope people, and had some really great experiences. But when I quit my job and I began freelancing, I was able to go back to those different places I had worked because I had maintained good relationships. It's a lesson there.